Well, the chief executive has told me that he didn't make any such decisions. The chief executive has told me there was a breach of security, and as a result he had to batten down the hatches. Now, he's not saying anything about an incident. He said the incident, if it occurred, was outside, nothing to do with him. And all he's doing is protecting the institution by shutting down the possibility of members of the public at all times. So what's going on? I mean, he's denying responsibility, you're denying responsibility, security's denying responsibility. Who has excluded these people? By security. So you know nothing about this? Yes, I've been told several different things, none of which I now believe. Except, I do believe that Andrew Sykes has made a malicious allegation.
We're outside Bradford Civic Hall at a council meeting where we were invited by the three councillors here, Councillor Chris Kirby, Councillor Angela Clarke and Councillor James Lewthwaite, and we've not been allowed to enter. In fact, some of the people were allowed to enter, but some of them have been removed from the hall. Jim, what is your reasoning behind the people being removed?
So far I have been given several different stories, but the main one appears to be that an allegation was made by a well-known left-wing agitator, Andrew Sykes, that he was threatened or intimidated in some respect. The police appear to have made no attempt to investigate this charge. The charge, however, has been taken serious enough by security to have members of the public excluded. No investigation appears to have been carried out to see if this allegation had any semblance of truth to it whatsoever, although a number of witnesses are present who could have put them right. So as far as we can see, the presumption of innocence has not been carried out in this case. It has been assumed that our people are guilty until proven innocent. And since no attempt is being made to investigate the charge, since I don't even see Andrew Sykes anywhere in this vicinity, since he's got away scot-free with disrupting the proceedings and presumably is not going to be charged with wasting police time, it appears that the left wing can do as they please in Bradford without being investigated by the police. Indeed, one assumes they are collaborating with the police in this escapade.
Now, Jim, Angela Clarke, as we know, has had a series of threats to her well-being. She's had her windows put through. So
more than threats. We
sent along a security guard to look after her, and one of the chief police officers said to the security guard, when he said, "I'm here to look after Angela Clarke," he said, "You're not tonight, sonny." Now, how does that make you feel when Angela and yourselves are representing this council?
That fits in with the scenario that the police and the far left are collaborating. This is something we already have reason to believe, of course, in the fact that police footage found its way into the hands of Searchlight and the BBC for the secret agent programme, something the police went to great lengths to conceal, alleging that, on the contrary, it was BBC film which found its way to them. What we now know is that the police are working hand in glove with the far left, on behalf, presumably, of the Labour government, to get Labour councillors re-elected by any means possible.
I've spoken to Nick Griffin regarding this incident, and he said there's no legal rights for the council and these council officers to exclude any public person that wants to enter the gallery. Now, according to our people that were in there, Mr. Sykes was running around telling people within this council chamber what to do. Now, I mean, how does that make you feel? This man seems to have more power than you do.
Once again, the story I was told by Philip Robinson was that a breach of security, that's the chief executive, I should explain, the chief executive of Bradford Council, explained that what he had done was to receive news that a breach of security had been committed, and therefore he battened down the hatches and excluded all members of the public without prejudice to the BNP in order to preserve the security of the building. So the suggestion on his behalf was that some sort of breach of security or incident took place just outside the building, and that as a result he made the proper steps to look after the security of the building and the councillors in it. This is not what appears to be what the police are telling us, what the witnesses are telling us, and what you have just told me. Clearly there are several different stories circulating. They do not add up, and there is a strong odour of corruption and prejudice in the air. At the moment we're waiting, as we have been now for half an hour, for Sergeant Goss, the person who instigated the action to exclude our people from the City Hall, to show his face behind the counter. If you were to turn around, you'd see that precisely nobody from the police is behind this counter, which is the principal counter for reporting crime in Bradford on this busy Tuesday night. So they're all presumably hiding in the shadows from us in case they have to come up with an explanation as to their conduct, which is, to say the least, compromised. An allegation appears to have been made against members of the BNP. No investigation has been carried out despite the presence of witnesses. We have been excluded with no clue actually as to the specific nature of the allegation. The person making the allegation is a known far-left troublemaker and agent provocateur, Andrew Sykes, who of course is a professional liar, as demonstrated by his role as an infiltrator, saboteur and agent provocateur in Secret Agent. So there's no doubt whatsoever that Sykes is a capable, confident liar, and the only question is, does he ever stop lying for very long? The police have taken him at face value and without any investigation whatsoever excluded our people. Interestingly, no left-wingers who are present in the gallery appear to have been excluded on the grounds that they too were compromising security, although this would have been logical in the circumstances. To be frank, so many stories have been told to me now tonight by so many people that I don't believe anything except that the police conduct requires explanation. However, that is precisely what they are determined not to give us. They are basically skulking at the back of their police station rather than confront a democratically elected councillor and give an explanation of their conduct. Obviously, we're going to have to wait here some considerable length of time. Meanwhile, the council debate about a number of important projects affecting Bradford's future is going on without us, but I do believe that the issue of freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the liberty to go where you please is far more important than any trivial motions being passed in the City Council tonight. These are much less important than centuries-old liberties. Thank you and good night.
Now, we've just come out of the police station after being interviewed by two senior police officers. Jim, how do you think it went?
Entirely predictably. They basically blamed the security staff at Bradford Council. As we understand it, they said the security manager, James Brumfitt, asked them to exclude our people. That basically is also what he's told me, except that as far as I can make out, he was alleging that he was acting on an allegation made to the police, and they are alleging that basically the decision was made by him. So they're each blaming the other. The chief executive has basically said, when I saw him during the break, that he knew nothing of the incident except there had been some incident outside City Hall and that he had caused the building to be secured on the advice of the police and his own security staff. But as far as I understand it, there is a fundamental contradiction between the security staff saying they were acting on advice from the police and the police saying they were simply carrying out the wishes of the security staff.
The police are taking this quite seriously because this is, after all, what we're here for today, is to look after our councillors because of Andy Sykes and the rest of his mob who will come in and try to intimidate our councillors, and we won't put up with it. And he's now on a stalking charge because we've just basically had enough.
Well, there's an even longer standing investigation which has got precisely nowhere, which is that into the death threat made against Linda Cromie. Now that's the wife of Paul Cromie, who is herself a candidate for Queensberry in May and June 2004, and she received a death threat which was traced within, as far as I know, 24 hours, because the person making the threat is stupid enough to dial from his home number and not to conceal the number in any way. So the identity of that death threat maker, that intimidator, has been known for 18 months, and yet that person has not been charged. However, in this case, the police have acted with remarkable alacrity, indicating how far they're prepared to carry out a left-wing agenda.
Jim, Angela, thank you very much.